Hello and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Casey Kummer along with Logan Bourandas and Matt Szczypiorski, and tonight we'll be kicking off our annual NFL mock drafts. In the past few days, there has been a lot of trades shaking up the board and draft hype generated from pro days, so it's an exciting time to kick off these mock drafts. Logan, what are some of your favorite fits according to your mock drafts?
Yeah, so starting out my top 16 here, the first three picks, going to kind of combine them here, all going to be quarterbacks, I think, especially with the 49ers making that trade up to number 3. Don't give up 3 first-round picks and not pick a quarterback. I think Kyle Pitts can definitely be the first skill position, kind of taken off the board, kind of the Austin Hooper replacement in Atlanta. Penei Sewell, the first offensive lineman off the board. And then 6 and 7, both wide receivers. I like the Devonta Smith fit with the Dolphins just because of Devontae Parker, more of a physical receiver, and Devonta Smith is the kind of guy where you just throw him a slant, he'll take it 20 yards upfield. Micah Parsons at 8, I think he can be the first defensive player off the board, kind of be that Luke Kuechly replacement in Carolina. And then the next 2 picks going to be cornerbacks at 9 and 10, both going to be at very big needs for the Broncos and Cowboys. The Giants, I think they do take a receiver, kind of like the way CeeDee Lamb went to the Cowboys right before the Eagles, kind of messing with your division rival there. I think that Waddle could be a good fit in New York. And then the Eagles traded back to 12. They should have taken a receiver, should have stayed at 6, but now with the major options kind of off the board, the offensive line position is probably the best they have. And the Chargers kind of the same little scenario there. They lost a lot of offensive weapons, so I think that getting an offensive lineman will help there. 14, 15, I think that both Trey Lance, Mac Jones could be backup quarterbacks for a year. Kirk Cousins on a final year of his contract. Get Trey Lance to kind of learn under him. And then Cam Newton, same situation, only on a 1-year contract. And then offensive lineman for the Cardinals. And then in my back half of the draft, Raiders going linebacker, kind of a big position need there. Same with the Dolphins. And then 19, I'm going to go reaching for Kyle Trask a little bit for Washington. They signed Ryan Fitzmagic on a 1-year contract, and the one position this team really needs, they have a great defense, but they need a quarterback. I think they go 1 here. And then 20, Rondell Moore. The Bears just need a receiver. Give Andy Dalton as much help as you can. D-line for the Giants, and then looking at, I'm going to skip to 23 here because it's probably the one I want to focus on most. Travis Etienne being the first running back off the board here with the Jets would be a big help, especially with Zach Wilson if he were to go at number 2. And then the first center off the board being Creed Humphrey from Alabama. Marquise Pouncey, huge loss for Pittsburgh. I think he's the perfect situation. First, really great fit there for them. Jaguars and Browns both need defensive needs. Ravens, they couldn't sign any receiver no matter how hard they tried. I think that they get the best one off the board. The Packers get one as well at 29. Bateman, I think, would be great for Aaron Rodgers. And then Najee Harris becomes the second running back off the board. Najee Harris becoming the every down back. Devin Singletary, not really a great fit there. Chiefs lost a lot of offensive line. And then Jason Oweh, Penn State, why not? So that's just kind of a quick summary of my mock draft.
I agree the first 3 picks are all going to be quarterbacks. It'll be interesting to see if Wilson can hang on to his projected number 2 spot. Pick 3 and 4 could easily be either Fields or Lance, depending on what the Niners decide to do. Matt, where are some good landing spots for some of the top prospects?
Well, I'm going to take that point a little bit further here, Casey. I'm going to say the first 4 picks of the NFL draft are all going to be quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence, the obvious one there, number 1. The Jets taking Zach Wilson. I don't love them taking quarterback that early. I think it's still too early to give on Sam Darnold, especially with the core they have around him. They need to build around him a little bit more, but I think that's what they'll do. The Niners trading up to 3. It's obvious they're going to take a quarterback. They're not sold on Jimmy Garoppolo there. I think Trey Lance fits their system better than Justin Fields does. I think he fits Kyle Shanahan's offense better than Justin Fields. I think they take Trey Lance instead. Justin Fields going to the Falcons. This is interesting because the Falcons don't necessarily need a quarterback, but Matt Ryan is getting older. Justin Fields a great fit there, a Georgia boy. He will fit seamlessly there in Atlanta, sit behind Matt Ryan for a year or 2. Then the Bengals, they'd be so stupid to pass on an offensive lineman, especially one of Soule's talent. There's been rumors that Jamar Chase could end up there just because of the Chase-Burrow connection, but I don't believe that at all. I think the Bengals should take an offensive lineman. Then I have Chase going to the Dolphins before Devontae Smith. I just think Chase is the best wide receiver prospect since Julio Jones. I think he's the fit there for the Dolphins, and they'll end up taking the same guy they probably would have taken at 3 anyway while acquiring draft capital. And if you look over here at 9, I have Mac Jones going to the Denver Broncos. This might seem like a shock to you, Logan, but I think the Broncos are an interesting fit for Mac Jones because they're not obviously sold on Drew Lock. And Mac Jones is the prototypical John Elway type quarterback. He's tall, big arm, immobile, and he's white. He's definitely Broncos type quarterback. Caleb Farley, I think, will be the first cornerback off the board. He's had a really impressive pro day, 4.28 unofficial 40-yard dash time. I think that's going to sell to Jerry Jones. I think they take a cornerback, especially with all their defensive liabilities. I think Micah Parsons slips all the way to 11 there to the Giants. He's had character issues the past couple of weeks now that have come out in a couple of reports, but I think he's not going to slip as far as some other people might think. I think he fits there great in New York. The Giants need a middle linebacker. I see the Eagles taking a wide receiver in Jalen Waddle. Probably missed out on some of the top prospects there, but I think they'll still take a receiver. Alabama connection there between him and Hurts. Then the Chargers and Vikings both beefing up their offensive line. That's a big need for both of them. And then the Patriots bolstering up their defense as well, especially with Dante Hightower maybe not coming back. And then Patrick Surtain being the next cornerback off the board, filling a need for Arizona. And then the next half of my draft, Nadia Harris is the first notable name here. I think he goes 18 to the Dolphins. I think it's too seamless of a fit. The Dolphins need a running back. He's got the Alabama connection with Tua Tagovailoa, as we mentioned earlier with Jalen Hurts and Jalen Waddle. Same kind of Alabama connection there. I think he's better than Travis Etienne. I think he can do a little bit of everything. And then Rondale Moore going 20 to the Bears. The Bears just need receivers, man. They just need some talent on the outside to help out whoever's playing quarterback there, whether it's Andy Dalton or Nick Foles, maybe somebody else. But I think Rondale Moore is the obvious pick there because you don't know what's going to happen with Allen Robinson either. He did sign that franchise tag, but I don't know if he's committed to the Bears long term. I think Rondale Moore is a guy that might be undersized, but I do think that he doesn't play undersized, and he'll be a great fit there. Travis Etienne, I agree with you. I think he does go to the Jets. I think he's a great fit there. He's much cheaper than Le'Veon Bell, $52 million, and he played probably 12 games there for the Jets. So I think Travis Etienne is a seamless fit there. Then you look at the Browns and Ravens, both teams that are looking to get back in the playoffs for the AFC North. They need help on the edges. They'll fill those needs with Jalen Phillips and Gregory Rousseau. Asante Samuel Jr. going to the Saints. The Saints have Marshawn Lattimore is getting a little bit of trouble here in the offseason. They need some cornerback help, especially with Janoris Jenkins leaving the Saints in free agency. Rashad Bateman, receiver at Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers needs all the help he can get. He's been angry with the Packers in the past for not helping him out in the draft, getting young talent. So I think he's a good fit there opposite Devontae Adams. As you said, Jason Owe, Penn State. He'll fit there great with Buffalo as an edge player. And then finally, the Chiefs, they need offensive line help. We saw them in the Super Bowl struggle to keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. They released two of their offensive linemen this offseason, mostly because of cap casualty situation, but I think the Chiefs need to bolster their offensive line with that pick.
Parsons going to the Giants would be an interesting fit considering he'd be joining former teammate Saquon Barkley, who expressed his excitement for Parsons on Twitter after PSU's Pro Day. Even with character issues, I agree that he still lands in the top 15, maybe even top 10. Following some massive trades on Friday, the 49ers moved up to 3 and the Dolphins sat at 12, but not so fast because minutes later, Miami traded back up to 6 and swapped first rounders with the Eagles. Matt, how do you see this affecting draft selections for these teams?
Well, Casey and Logan, obviously the Eagles did trade out of the top 6. I didn't agree with the move. They probably should have stayed inside the top 6 if it were me. Obviously, they did acquire 3 first-round picks potentially next year, depending on what happens with Carson Wentz out there in Indianapolis. But I do think this is an issue for the Eagles simply because the top 6 pick, no matter what happened with that 6th pick, it was Howie-proof. Howie Roseman is not the right guy to lead this team, not the right guy to draft for this team. He has had shaky drafts ever since he took over drafting process in 2016. He has not had a single good player come off the board. He's not drafted a single Pro Bowler. The Eagles needed a franchise caliber guy. They would have gotten that at 6. I don't know if they'll necessarily get that at 12. And then looking ahead to next year with potentially having 3 first-round picks, I don't know if I trust Howie Roseman to make those picks either.
Yeah, Matt, are you familiar with the game chess?
Of course I am.
Because that's what the Dolphins are playing compared to the other teams in the NFL playing checkers. I mean, they managed to trade from 3 to 6, but picked up major draft capital in the process. And this trade, with the amount of quarterbacks that are expected to go in the top 3, maybe 4, like you said, it's really smart for the Dolphins as they are still going to have probably their top choice, maybe their second choice in terms of skill players they need. Because they need a receiver, but they can still potentially pick first in terms of receivers with the quarterbacks and Penei Sewell potentially going earlier. And the Eagles, you mentioned it, I mean, there's a really good chance that those receivers that are going to be at the top of the board, your Waddles, your Devontae Smiths, your Jamar Chase, they're probably all going to be gone. There's a good chance by the point where it gets to 12. So the Eagles, they need a receiver. You can't really reach like you did with Jalen Reagor last year. I don't think it makes too much sense. So it's just a bad move for the Eagles overall. And then the 49ers, they've said they're going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, even though they traded 3 first-round picks to move up to number 3. I think it's smoke and mirrors. I think that there's no way Jimmy Garoppolo is going to suit up for the 49ers next year. I think they'll probably end up with Justin Fields on their team. So I think that we could potentially see a new home for Jimmy Garoppolo next year.
There is talent all over the board. You have to remember that the Eagles have holes all over the team, so shooting for a star receiver may not have been their absolute top priority. However, if they did draft a wide receiver, I feel as though it would be smart for them to really shoot for Jalen Waddle, as he and Jalen Hurts had a short history together at Alabama, giving the Eagles much-needed offensive chemistry. At the 12th pick, they definitely still have a chance to go for a game-changing player while still looking to the future for next draft. In a stacked quarterback class with a bunch of QB-needy teams, Logan, who do you see moving up to take one of these signal callers?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Carolina here. I think that they're really just a quarterback away from really competing. They have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, Robbie Anderson, and DJ Moore at receivers, and they drafted all defense last year. I think that they're really just a quarterback away from really competing with this young team. And Teddy Bridgewater, he had an okay year at quarterback. I think that he was good, not great, but I think that the Panthers, they have the draft capital to potentially make themselves a playoff contender sometime soon. I think there's no way they can make a trade with the Falcons just because they are division rivals at number 4. So the only option is the Jets at number 2, and they've kind of been hesitant on drafting a quarterback just because Sam Darnold, he has shown promise in New York these past couple of years, not really this year, but the 2 years prior. So I think that the Panthers and Jets really can make a move during the draft or in the upcoming weeks. So and the Panthers, just looking at the rest of the division, the Buccaneers, they're coming off a Super Bowl championship. The Falcons are probably rebuilding, and the Saints are rebuilding as well. So there is a chance for the Panthers to really compete soon if they act on it. I think they could go after a guy like Justin Fields. I think that would really fit their system, especially him being similar to Cam Newton. I think that they can really build their team similar to the years past.
I think Carolina has a good opportunity there to trade up. As you said, I don't think it'll be at 4 with the Falcons just because they're division rivals, but I think that's a good possibility for them to trade up. But I'm going to look at a team that I picked a couple of weeks ago in a segment to trade up, and that's the New England Patriots. They did the unthinkable in the offseason. They spent money. They haven't done that in years. It seemed like they signed every free agent under the sun. I think they're going to continue to surprise people in this draft by trading up at number 4 with Atlanta, the team we mentioned earlier, just because I don't think they trade up to 2 with the same reasons that you mentioned with the Panthers and Falcons. They're not going to trade up with a division rival in the New York Jets. I think they trade up to 4. I think they take Justin Fields at 4 because I think Wilson and Lance will go 2 and 3. I think Justin Fields is a great fit for the Patriots. Josh McDaniels will have a field day with him. He's very similar to Cam Newton, who is obviously not the answer there in New England. Keeps getting one-year deals there with a lot of incentives. They don't trust him at all, I don't think. I think the Patriots make a big move. They trade up. They take Justin Fields.
The Patriots trading up to 4 would be a big jump from their current spot at 15, but like Matt said, it's the Patriots and would not be surprising. If they trade up to number 4, I could see them taking Fields, but if the Panthers can move up to number 2, I think there is a good chance they take Wilson over Fields. The BYU quarterback has really proved his worth after a strong showing at his pro day. The NFL draft is set for April 29th in Cleveland, Ohio, with the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. Be sure to tune in next week for our second edition of our annual mock drafts. For Logan Bourandas and Matt Szczypiorski, I'm Casey Kummer. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.